Emma and Ella had such a fight over Elvis during the concert that security had to intervene. When Elvis noticed the situation, he left the stage and came to them, and what he did shocked the twin girls. Harrah's resort at Lake Tahoe stood as one of the premier entertainment destinations in the American West, its luxurious showroom nestled against the backdrop of the stunning Sierra Nevada mountains. The venue had become synonymous with world-class entertainment, and in August 1973, it was hosting one of Elvis Presley's most anticipated summer residencies, drawing fans from across the country to witness the King of Rock and Roll perform in this breathtaking setting. The showroom itself was an architectural marvel of the early 1970s, designed to accommodate 1,500 guests in an intimate setting that made every seat feel close to the action. The venue's sophisticated lighting systems and acoustics had been specifically engineered to showcase major entertainers, and Elvis's performances there had already achieved legendary status among both fans and industry professionals. On this particular evening in late August, the resort was buzzing with more activity than usual. Word had spread that Elvis was in particularly good spirits during this residency, and his performances had been receiving rave reviews from both critics and audiences. The combination of the scenic location, the intimate venue, and Elvis's renewed energy had created a perfect storm of anticipation for what promised to be an unforgettable evening. Among the excited audience members settling into their seats were the Morrison family from Sacramento, California. James Morrison, a successful insurance broker, had planned this trip as a special treat for his wife Patricia and their 8-year-old twin daughters, Emma and Ella. The family had driven the 5 hours from Sacramento to Lake Tahoe specifically for this show, making it a combination vacation and once-in-a-lifetime entertainment experience. Emma and Ella Morrison were identical twins who shared many traits, but had distinctly different personalities that often put them at odds with each other. Emma, older by just 12 minutes, was the more assertive and outgoing of the two, quick to voice her opinions and claim her preferences. Ella, while equally intelligent and spirited, was slightly more reserved but possessed a competitive streak that emerged whenever she felt overshadowed by her sister. The twins had been Elvis fans since they were old enough to appreciate music, thanks to their mother Patricia's extensive collection of his records. However, their fandom had recently taken on a competitive edge as each girl began to claim that she was Elvis's biggest fan and that she loved him more than her sister did. What had started as innocent sibling rivalry had escalated into serious competition that was causing tension in the Morrison household. For weeks leading up to the Lake Tahoe trip, Emma and Ella had been arguing about who would get to sit closer to the stage, who would be more likely to catch Elvis's attention, and who he would like better if he met them. Patricia and James had tried to mediate these disputes with limited success, hoping that actually seeing Elvis perform would help the girls appreciate the experience together rather than competing against each other. The day of the concert had been filled with excitement and anticipation, but also with increasing tension between the twins. During the family's afternoon activities around Lake Tahoe, Emma and Ella had continued their rivalry, each trying to demonstrate her superior knowledge of Elvis's songs, movies, and personal history. Every conversation seemed to turn into a competition about who was the better fan. At the hotel gift shop, the situation had nearly reached a breaking point when both girls spotted the same Elvis souvenir t-shirt, and both claimed they had seen it first. The resulting argument had required parental intervention and a compromise solution that satisfied neither girl completely. James and Patricia were beginning to worry that their daughter's competition might ruin what was supposed to be a magical family experience. During dinner at the resort restaurant, the twins had continued their rivalry in more subtle ways, each trying to position herself as the more knowledgeable Elvis expert. Emma recited lyrics from his early songs, while Ella countered with details about his movies. Their parents watched with growing concern as the competition escalated, recognizing that the evening's concert might provide a flashpoint for their daughter's rivalry. As the family prepared for the show, Patricia took both girls aside for a serious conversation about their behavior. She explained that Elvis concerts were about enjoying music and having fun together as a family, not about competing with each other. However, her words seemed to have limited impact on twins who had become completely focused on proving their superior devotion to their shared idol. The walk to the showroom was tense, with Emma and Ella walking slightly apart from each other instead of together as they usually did. Each girl was lost in her own thoughts about how she might catch Elvis's attention during the show and prove once and for all that she was his biggest fan. Neither twin seemed to consider that their rivalry might actually detract from their enjoyment of the performance they had been anticipating for months. When the Morrison family entered Harrah's elegant showroom, the twins' competitive energy immediately focused on their seating arrangement. Despite their parents' careful planning to ensure both girls had equally good views of the stage, Emma and Ella each found reasons to believe that the other had been given a slight advantage. Emma, sitting in the seat closer to the center aisle, declared that her position was better because Elvis often walked down the aisle during his performances. Ella, positioned slightly closer to the main stage area, countered that her seat provided a superior view of Elvis's primary performance space. Their whispered argument continued even as other audience members filled the showroom around them. The elegant atmosphere of Harrah's showroom was lost on the twins, who were too focused on their competition to appreciate the sophisticated setting or the anticipation building among the other concert-goers. James and Patricia exchanged worried glances, recognizing that their daughter's rivalry was intensifying rather than diminishing as Showtime approached. As the lights dimmed and the audience's excitement reached fever pitch, the twins' competitive tension reached a new level. Both girls sat rigidly in their seats, each determined to be the first to catch Elvis's attention when he appeared. The family dynamic that should have been characterized by shared joy and excitement had been replaced by an undercurrent of sibling rivalry that threatened to overshadow the entire experience. When Elvis finally took the stage to thunderous applause, both Emma and Ella leaped to their feet simultaneously, each trying to make herself more visible than her sister. Their enthusiastic but competitive response to Elvis's entrance set the tone for what would become an increasingly problematic evening for the Morrison family. Elvis appeared on stage in one of his signature white jumpsuits, this one featuring intricate silver and turquoise detailing that caught the stage lights beautifully. His presence immediately commanded the attention of every person in the venue, and his opening number sent waves of excitement through the audience that had been building anticipation for hours. As Elvis moved through his opening songs, his natural charisma and commanding stage presence created the intimate connection with his audience that had made his live performances legendary. However, for Emma and Ella Morrison, the concert was less about enjoying Elvis's music and more about competing for his attention and recognition. During Elvis's second song, Emma began waving enthusiastically, trying to catch his eye as he moved across the stage. Not to be outdone, Ella started jumping up and down in her seat, hoping her movement would distinguish her from the other fans in the audience. Their competitive behavior was becoming noticeable not just to their parents, but to other audience members in their section. As the concert progressed, the twins' rivalry intensified. When Elvis smiled in the general direction of their section during one song, both girls claimed that he had been looking specifically at them. Emma declared loudly that Elvis had definitely seen her waving, while Ella insisted that his smile had been directed at her jumping. Their argument grew heated enough that Patricia had to shush them to avoid disturbing other concert-goers. The situation escalated further when Elvis began his traditional audience interaction segment, walking to the edge of the stage to shake hands with fans and accept small gifts. Both twins immediately saw this as their opportunity to prove their superior connection with their idol, and they began planning their approach to the stage area. As Elvis moved closer to the audience during his performance, both Emma and Ella became increasingly agitated about positioning themselves to gain his attention. Emma, claiming her status as the older twin, announced that she should be the one to approach Elvis if the opportunity arose. Ella immediately protested, arguing that age had nothing to do with who was the bigger fan. The twins' whispered argument grew more heated as Elvis continued his performance, each girl becoming more determined to prove her superior devotion. Their parents' attempts to calm them down were largely ignored as both girls became completely focused on their competition. When Elvis paused between songs to talk to the audience about his appreciation for their support, both twins took this as a sign that they should make their move. Emma started to get up from her seat, intending to approach the stage area, but Ella immediately grabbed her sister's arm to stop her. "He likes me better," Emma hissed at her sister, trying to pull free from Ella's grip. "I'm going to give him a hug." "No way," Ella whispered back fiercely. "I saw him first when he came on stage. He was looking at me." Their struggle for position began to attract attention from other audience members who were trying to enjoy Elvis's performance but were becoming distracted by the twins' increasingly physical competition. James and Patricia were caught between trying to control their daughters and not wanting to create an even bigger disturbance. The twins' rivalry reached a critical point when Elvis announced that he would be coming down into the audience to meet some of his fans personally. Both girls saw this as their ultimate opportunity, and neither was willing to let her sister gain an advantage. As Elvis made his way down from the stage and began moving through the audience, shaking hands and briefly chatting with fans, Emma and Ella's competition reached its breaking point. Both girls simultaneously broke free from their parents' attempts to restrain them and rushed toward Elvis, each determined to reach him first. What followed was a scene that caught the attention of everyone in their section of the showroom. The twins began pushing and shoving each other as they tried to get closer to Elvis, their whispered arguments escalating into more obvious physical competition. Emma tried to use her slight height advantage to block Ella's path, while Ella attempted to slip around her sister's blocking efforts. "Move! I was here first," Emma declared, no longer bothering to keep her voice down. "No, you weren't. I love Elvis more than you do," Ella shot back, trying to push past her sister. Their struggle created a disturbance that was impossible to ignore. Other fans who had been patiently waiting for their own opportunity to meet Elvis found their view blocked and their experience disrupted by the twins' increasingly dramatic fight. Some audience members began looking around for security or venue staff to intervene. Resort security personnel, trained to handle various situations that might arise during high-profile entertainment events, quickly noticed the disturbance. Two security guards approached the Morrison family's section, initially assuming they were dealing with overly enthusiastic fans who needed to be reminded about appropriate concert behavior. However, when the guards reached the twins, they discovered a situation more complex than typical fan enthusiasm. Emma and Ella were engaged in a full sibling rivalry battle, complete with pushing, accusations, and increasingly loud arguments about who deserved to meet Elvis more. "Ladies, you need to return to your seats," one of the security guards said firmly, trying to separate the twins and restore order to the section. "You're disrupting other guests' enjoyment of the show." But the twins were too caught up in their competition to respond appropriately to the security intervention. Emma continued trying to push past Ella toward Elvis, while Ella refused to give ground in what she saw as a contest for their idol's attention and approval. From his position in the audience, Elvis had been focused on greeting fans and creating positive interactions that would enhance everyone's concert experience. However, the commotion created by Emma and Ella's fight began to penetrate his awareness as it became clear that something unusual was happening in one section of the audience. Elvis's years of experience with live performances had given him an acute sensitivity to crowd dynamics and the ability to quickly identify situations that needed attention. The sight of security guards intervening with what appeared to be very young fans immediately triggered his concern and protective instincts. Even from a distance, distance, Elvis could see that the security situation involved two small girls who seemed to be in some kind of distress or conflict. His natural empathy, particularly when it came to children, made it impossible for him to continue his planned audience interaction, while a situation involving young fans remained unresolved. Making a decision that surprised both his security team and the venue staff, Elvis began moving toward the area where Emma and Ella were still arguing with each other, and now with the resort security guards. His approach caused a ripple of excitement through the audience, as fans realized that Elvis was heading directly toward a specific situation rather than continuing his general meet-and-greet activities. As Elvis got closer to the twins, he could hear fragments of their argument and began to understand that this was not a security issue in the traditional sense, but rather a case of sibling rivalry that had gotten out of hand. The girls were not being disruptive out of disrespect or inappropriate behavior, but because they were competing with each other for his attention. "What seems to be the problem here?" Elvis asked as he reached the Morrison family section, his voice carrying the warm authority that had always characterized his interactions with fans. His presence immediately changed the dynamics of the situation, as everyone involved, the twins, their parents, the security guards, and nearby audience members, focused their attention on how he would handle this unusual circumstance. Emma and Ella's argument came to an abrupt halt when they realized that Elvis Presley himself was standing directly in front of them, addressing their situation personally. The twins, who had been so focused on competing with each other, suddenly found themselves face to face with the person they had been fighting over. For a moment, both girls were speechless, their rivalry temporarily forgotten in the overwhelming reality of Elvis's presence. However, their competitive instincts quickly reasserted themselves as each twin recognized this as the ultimate opportunity to prove her superior connection with their shared idol. "Elvis, I'm Emma, and I love you more than anyone in the whole world," Emma declared, stepping forward and trying to position herself between Elvis and her sister. "No, Elvis, I'm Ella, and I'm your biggest fan ever," Ella immediately countered, moving to stand beside her sister rather than behind her. Elvis looked down at the two identical faces staring up at him with a mixture of adoration and competitive determination, and his expression shifted from concern to understanding, and then to something that resembled gentle amusement. He had encountered enthusiastic fans before, but the sight of identical twins engaged in serious competition for his attention was both touching and slightly comical. "Well, well," Elvis said, his voice warm with humor and affection. "I can see I have a little situation here. You two are twins, aren't you?" His tone was gentle and non-judgmental, communicating to both girls that he understood their feelings without taking sides in their dispute. Both twins nodded eagerly, each hoping that Elvis would recognize her as the more devoted fan. Emma quickly added, "We're twins, but I'm older, and I love your music more." Ella immediately protested. "Being older doesn't matter. I know all your songs by heart." Elvis listened to their competing claims with patience and growing understanding of the dynamic that had created the situation. His experience as a performer had taught him about human nature and motivation, and he recognized that these two little girls were not being deliberately disruptive, but were simply expressing their love for his music in the only way they knew how. Elvis paused for a moment, considering how to address the twins' rivalry in a way that would satisfy both girls, while teaching them something valuable about competition and appreciation. His solution, when it came, demonstrated both his wisdom and his genuine care for his fans' well-being. "Emma and Ella," Elvis said, addressing both twins equally, "I can see that you both love music very much, and that makes me very happy. But I have a question for you both." He paused to make sure he had their complete attention before continuing. "Do you know what makes music really special?" he asked, his voice taking on the tone of someone sharing an important secret. Both girls shook their heads, suddenly more interested in what Elvis had to say than in competing with each other. "Music is special because it brings people together," Elvis explained. "It's not about who loves it more or who loves it better. It's about sharing the joy and making beautiful sounds together, just like you two, You're twins, which means you're already a perfect team. Emma and Ella looked at each other uncertainly, beginning to understand that Elvis was suggesting something different from the competition they had been engaged in. Elvis continued, "Instead of fighting about who loves music more, why don't you show me how beautiful it sounds when twins sing together? I bet you two could create something really special if you worked as a team instead of competing against each other." The suggestion was both unexpected and appealing to both girls. The idea of performing with Elvis, even briefly, was more exciting than winning a competition against each other. For the first time that evening, Emma and Ella looked at each other with cooperation rather than rivalry in their eyes. "Would you like to sing a song with me?" Elvis asked. "But only if you can do it together, as a team. I don't perform with people who are fighting with each other." Elvis's invitation to sing with him created an immediate shift in the twins' behavior and attitude. The prospect of actually performing with their idol was so exciting that their rivalry suddenly seemed less important than their shared opportunity to make music with Elvis. "Really? We can sing with you?" Emma asked, her competitive edge softening into genuine excitement about the musical opportunity. "Both of us together?" Ella added, looking at her sister with something approaching cooperation for the first time that evening. "That's the only way I perform," Elvis replied with a smile. "Music is about harmony, and harmony means working together, not fighting against each other. Do you think you two can create some harmony for me?" The twins looked at each other and, without needing to discuss it, nodded simultaneously. The competitive energy that had been driving them apart now became focused on their shared goal of impressing Elvis with their ability to work together. Elvis asked the twins what song they would like to sing, and after a brief, whispered consultation between themselves, they chose "Love Me Tender," one of Elvis's gentler songs that they both knew well. Elvis approved of their choice and began to sing the opening lines, inviting the girls to join in when they felt ready. What followed was a magical moment that transformed the entire atmosphere of the concert. Emma and Ella, standing on either side of Elvis, began to sing along with him in sweet, clear voices that blended beautifully together. Their natural twin connection, when channeled into cooperation rather than competition, created a harmony that was both touching and musically pleasing. The audience, which had been watching this unusual situation unfold with curiosity, now found themselves witnessing something genuinely special. The sight of Elvis performing with two 8-year-old twins who had moved from fighting to harmonizing in the space of a few minutes created an emotional moment that resonated throughout the venue. As the song continued, Emma and Ella discovered something they hadn't expected. Singing together was more fun and more satisfying than competing against each other. Their voices complemented each other naturally, and the experience of creating music with Elvis while working as a team was more rewarding than either girl had imagined. The impromptu performance by Elvis and the twin girls created one of the most memorable moments in Harrah's entertainment history. The audience's response was immediate and overwhelming, with sustained applause and cheers that reflected both their appreciation for the musical moment and their admiration for Elvis's handling of the situation. Many audience members were moved to tears by the transformation they had witnessed. The sight of two little girls moving from conflict to cooperation, guided by Elvis's wisdom and patience, represented something profoundly hopeful about human nature and the power of music to bring people together. Patricia and James Morrison watched their daughters with amazement and gratitude. The twins who had been driving them to distraction with their constant competition were now working together beautifully, their natural bond enhanced rather than threatened by their shared experience with Elvis. The security guards who had initially been called to deal with a disruptive situation found themselves witnessing a masterclass in conflict resolution. Elvis's approach to the twins' rivalry had not only solved the immediate problem, but had created something positive and memorable for everyone involved. Other parents in the audience were particularly moved by Elvis's interaction interaction with Emma and Ella. His patience, understanding, and creative approach to their rivalry demonstrated values that many families struggle to instill in their own children. The twins' transformation from competitors to collaborators served as an inspiration for other families dealing with sibling rivalry. As the song concluded, Elvis knelt down between the twins and spoke to them quietly, his words picked up by the microphone and heard throughout the venue. "See how beautiful that sounded when you worked together," he said. "That's what being twins is really about, not competing with each other, but making something beautiful together that neither of you could make alone." The impact of Elvis's words and the experience of singing together created an immediate and lasting change in Emma and Ella's relationship. For the first time, they began to understand that their twin bond could be a source of strength and joy rather than constant competition. "Thank you, Elvis," Emma said, her voice now free of the competitive edge that had characterized her earlier interactions with her sister. "Thank you for teaching us how to be a team," Ella added, reaching out to take her sister's hand in a gesture of reconciliation that brought tears to their parents' eyes. Elvis smiled at both girls and said, "You two are very special, and not just because you can sing beautifully. You're special because you have each other. That's a gift that not everyone gets, and I hope you'll always remember to take care of that gift." The twins nodded solemnly, clearly understanding that they had learned something important about themselves and their relationship. The competitive energy that had been driving them apart had been transformed into appreciation for what they could accomplish together. As Elvis prepared to return to his scheduled performance, he made one final gesture that would cement the evening's lessons in the twins' memories. He removed 2 matching scarves from his costume and gave one to each girl, ensuring that neither could claim to have received a better gift than her sister. "These are so you'll always remember tonight," Elvis said, "and so you'll remember that the most beautiful music comes from harmony, not competition." Elvis's interaction with Emma and Ella had created such a positive energy in the venue that the remainder of the concert seemed to reach new heights of connection between performer and audience. The crowd was energized not just by Elvis's musical performance, but by the demonstration of wisdom and kindness they had witnessed. For the Morrison family, the rest of the evening was transformed by the change in their daughter's behavior. Emma and Ella sat together peacefully, often pointing out favorite moments to each other rather than competing for attention. Their parents could finally relax and enjoy the concert they had planned as a family bonding experience. The twins' newfound cooperation was evident in everything they did for the remainder of the evening. They shared snacks without arguing, took turns using their mother's opera glasses to get closer views of Elvis, and even sang along together during several songs, practicing the harmony they had learned. Other audience members who had witnessed the twins' transformation found themselves more emotionally engaged with the concert than they might have been otherwise. The reminder about the importance of cooperation and harmony resonated throughout the venue, creating a sense of community that enhanced everyone's enjoyment of Elvis's performance. Elvis himself seemed energized by the positive resolution of the twins' conflict. His subsequent songs were performed with particular warmth and connection, as if the experience with Emma and Ella had reminded him of why he loved performing and connecting with his audience. The experience at Lake Tahoe became a turning point in Emma and Ella's relationship that influenced their entire childhood and beyond. The lesson they learned about cooperation and shared appreciation proved to be lasting, fundamentally changing how they approached their twin bond. In the years that followed the concert, the Morrison family often referenced that evening when the twins faced new challenges or conflicts. The memory of Elvis's wisdom and the feeling of creating beautiful harmony together became a touchstone for resolving disputes and finding common ground. Emma and Ella both kept their scarves from Elvis throughout their childhood. But more importantly, they kept the lesson about working together rather than competing against each other. Their parents noticed immediate and lasting improvements in their relationship, with the twins becoming each other's strongest supporters rather than rivals. The story of the twins' experience with Elvis became part of the Morrison family's oral history, shared at family gatherings, and passed down to younger generations as an example of how conflicts could be resolved through understanding and creative thinking. As adults, both Emma and Ella pursued careers that involved working with children, and they often shared their Elvis story as an example of how competition could be transformed into cooperation. Their experience influenced their approach to dealing with sibling rivalry in their professional lives. The story of Elvis's intervention in Emma and Ella's rivalry became part of his legend, demonstrating his ability to connect with fans on a deeply personal level and his wisdom in handling human conflicts. It showed that his appeal went far beyond his musical talents to include genuine understanding of human nature and relationships. The incident illustrated important lessons about sibling relationships, particularly for twins and other children who might naturally fall into competitive patterns. Elvis's emphasis on harmony and cooperation provided a framework that many families found helpful in addressing similar issues. Entertainment industry professionals cited Elvis's handling of the twins' situation as an example of how performers could use their platform and influence to create positive impacts beyond mere entertainment. His approach demonstrated that celebrity interactions with fans could be meaningful and educational rather than simply promotional. Child development experts who heard the story noted that Elvis's intervention addressed the twins' rivalry at exactly the right level, acknowledging their feelings while redirecting their energy toward positive collaboration. His approach provided a model for how adults could help children resolve conflicts constructively. The story of Emma and Ella Morrison's fight over Elvis and his creative solution to their rivalry remains one of the most heartwarming examples of his character and his genuine care for his fans. It demonstrates that beneath the sequined jumpsuits and larger-than-life persona was a person who understood human relationships and cared about helping people find better ways to connect with each other. For anyone who has dealt with sibling rivalry or competitive relationships, the story provides both hope and practical guidance. Elvis's emphasis on harmony and cooperation over competition offers a framework that remains relevant for families and relationships of all kinds. The twins' transformation from rivals to collaborators serves as a reminder that conflicts, even deeply entrenched ones, can be resolved when approached with creativity, patience, and wisdom. Their experience shows that the most beautiful outcomes often emerge when people learn to work together rather than against each other. Today, the story continues to inspire parents, teachers, and anyone who works with children facing competitive conflicts. It reminds us that the goal is not to eliminate all competition, but to channel competitive energy into positive collaboration that benefits everyone involved. Most importantly, the story illustrates the lasting impact that moments of genuine kindness and wisdom can have on young lives. Elvis's few minutes with Emma and Ella created changes that influenced their entire relationship and their approach to dealing with conflicts throughout their lives, demonstrating the profound power of thoughtful intervention at crucial moments.